Okay, and welcome back to Bunnycast number 40. It's still rocking out with JStone, ChroniclerC, IceTigerLily, and Sir Xepharon the Prepared, and me, I am Dame Helen the LeatherClad. So, did anybody want to bring up anything before we jumped into our major topic of discussion?
What's our major topic?
We'll get to that.
Really nothing.
Wait, what?
But
It's like mystery meat. You never know.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to talk about intellectual property. Okay,
yeah,
so
I've got nothing.
Those of you who have listened to the podcast frequently in the past will know that we've kind of touched on this a little bit. There is currently a treaty being built behind closed doors, mostly being represented by the big media companies. We talked about how that was a major dick move. But we're going to also talk about today how intellectual property laws are totally fucking not just so-called pirates and whatnot, but also the people who are going to be coming around after us. I'm going to start out by relaying an anecdote about something that's actually very personal to me, in that I find it an extremely important part of the American cultural heritage, and that is the civil rights movement. There is a little bit of debate as to whether the civil rights movement was strictly necessary in terms of the way it all panned out. There was loss of life, there was civil unrest and whatnot, but the fact is that it happened. It was very important that it happened. It did bring about a massive cultural shift in the American way of thinking, from allowing for segregation based on race to requiring on a cultural, instinctual level that everybody be included in everything that we do as a society and a culture. And this was magnificently, wonderfully documented in a documentary called Eyes on the Prize. It was a hugely long documentary. I think it was like 40 hours long. And they
that's a big documentary.
It was massive.
That's longer than some role-playing games that I've played.
Yeah. And obviously you don't sit down and watch it in one sitting. It was a mini-series on PBS.
Thank God.
And what they wound up having to do was use a lot of footage from a lot of different sources, including video, audio. They did some original interviews, etc. Well, that was done before the current set of copyright laws was put in place.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And it was also done before large-scale VHS production, way before DVDs, and certainly before digital distribution. Well, after there happened to be a Laserdisc version that was created. Again, remember, this is before major production of large-scale production of a lot of things.
Laserdisc. I remember those.
Yes.
I watched Star Trek on Laserdisc. We had to flip it over just to watch the second half of that one movie. And it was about a good foot wide.
Oh, yes. I actually have a Laserdisc player, and so consequently, when my mother-in-law got from the local library in Arizona Eyes on the Prize Part 1, it's a collected volume. I think it's got 5 discs in the one box. I was over the moon. I was ecstatic. This is awesome. Here's why. You cannot get Eyes on the Prize as a collection anymore.
Sure you can. Just burn a copy of it and then throw it on eBay.
There is no digital distribution of it at all, because nobody has it on DVD. The Laserdisc copies are rare. It was never produced as a VHS set. And in order for them to convert the studio copies into consumer copies, they would have to pay the licensing fees.
Ooh.
It would cost more for one single copy's licensing fees than it cost for them to make the entire documentary.
That's
Really?
ridiculous. That is retarded.
Yeah, and that's all because of the
Wow.
modern copyright structure. This documentary, again, one of the best documentaries ever done of the civil rights movement in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Perfectly encapsulates everything. Unforgettable interviews that are they're not found anywhere else, with major major figures from the civil rights movement when they were still alive. And you cannot get it anywhere except if you happen to find a Laserdisc copy because of the way the copyright laws are structured.
Now, would there be a way for you to be able to actually convert that? I mean, it'd be in your own home just for your own copy, but...
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's ways to do it. But the problem is I don't have the time or the wherewithal to do it right now.
I would totally do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that it's a project, and as soon as I can get my hands on the second half of the Eyes on the Prize series, that's absolutely going to be something I'm going to do. But the problem is that even that archival backup copy...
I'm just thinking, what if...
What if what?
What if computers, instead of going smaller to the CD-ROM compact disc system, what if these computers integrate a Laserdisc player?
Hey, I remember when it wouldn't be feasible to have a drive that size.
I know. I grew up in the days of 5.5, 3, or 5 1/4, 3.5, and fixed discs, which are 7 inches.
Hey, yeah. Did you ever use a 10-inch floppy?
Not the 10-inch, no, but I've used backup tapes for the computer.
I used like one of the floppy disks that was actually floppy.
Yeah, the first disc.
And I barely remember those.
JStone, go.
Saying that you've used backup tapes doesn't really date anything, because backup tapes are still in use. They're just a lot different than the old backup tapes.
True.
Oh yeah, I know backup tapes are still being used and whatnot, but I'm talking the original backup tapes. I mean, these things were about the size of VHS.
Oh yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah, I grew up in those days, and I know how to use them and plug them in.
Actually, VHS tapes are still being produced, not for video, but because there's an entire series of robotic backup systems that use VHS tapes for archival data storage.
Mm-hmm.
And it works so well, nobody has bothered to change the way the system works or any of the formats.
Finally, people that realize if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. In any case, the whole point of the story that I just told is we have an entire chapter, a good 30 years worth of information of our culture, our cultural heritage, a part of our history, something that we should be teaching in schools anyways, that is being locked away by these stupid, monumentally moronic copyright and intellectual property laws.
Now,
Welcome to the bureaucracy.
Define intellectual property for those who are probably wondering, what does he mean by that?
Okay. The idea of intellectual property, there's no single thing that's called an intellectual property law, but because there's an umbrella group of laws that all together make up a sort of a single legal group, industry, whatever you want to call it. The entire industry decided to say, well, it's industrial intellectual property, so let's call them intellectual property laws. The intellectual property law umbrella includes copyright law, trademark law, patent law, and...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
It's an idea. It's your idea. You own it.
That's the basic concept behind intellectual property.
And yet, the government still manages to find ways to take it, claim it as their own because they can.
Well, it's not the government that's claiming it is the problem.
I know. I'm just saying.
It's these corporations. The Martin Luther King Jr. estate is actually a company, and they actually go out and they sue people for using footage of Martin Luther King.
Really?
Yeah. It's disgusting. It's like, I really don't think when Martin Luther King Jr. was standing at the Washington Monument proclaiming that I have a dream that one day it's so and so for blah, blah, blah. I really don't think that he ever thought that his children and grandchildren would be using the laws of the nation to restrict that speech from being published out. That is one of the most beautiful, most moving speeches about how a society can be whole and holistic and colorblind, and yet the children and grandchildren of the man who delivered the speech are keeping our children and grandchildren from being able to know that the speech was even made. And
that is sickening.
Oh, it is absolutely sickening. For people who want to really dig into the meat of this, and
I've got a more recent example of an estate being dicks, but it pales in your comparison.
The Tolkien estate?
The Michael Jackson estate.
Oh, yeah. Well,
well, yeah, but that's a different.
There's a fantastic blog called Tech Dirt that does just excellent coverage of intellectual property law and everything that goes on around it. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about individual cases, because you can find out tons about individual cases on Tech Dirt. But this does bring me nicely to the Pirate Party.
Yar.
This Pirate Party?
Yeah, there is a political party up in Switzerland?
Off U.S. coastal waters.
Just open a data center in Sealand.
Yeah.
That's what PirateBay.org is.
Well, actually, PirateBay.org is currently hosted in Norway.
Did they move?
It's one of those northern European territories. The point being is the Pirate Party got so much momentum in one country that Pirate Party actually has a seat in the European Union Parliament.
That's awesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
And
It really does.
And there's one of the other parties in the European Union Parliament, I forget which one, said, you know what, when the Pirate Party votes this certain way, we're going to vote with them. So the Pirate Party effectively controls like 25% of the vote.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Now, which brings me to the next thing I wanted to discuss. There needs to be a Pirate Party here in America.
As much as I support this idea, our bipartisan system is so uncrackable.
No, I think it's falling apart. I really do. And here's the one indicator that you need to see that it's falling apart. The Tea Party.
Well, that's very debatable whether that's actually an example of the bipartisan system falling apart, because that's so heavily integrated with the one side that...
No, it's not. You obviously haven't been paying attention, because the Tea Party, it's started out and is still anti-incumbent Republican. The Democrats all think that the Tea Party was formed to fight the Democrats. It has nothing to do with the Democrat Party, other than the fact that most of the people in the Tea Party happen to be former Republicans.
I don't
Who
follow
then went,
politics. This is nuts. Let's get away from this.
Yeah, I don't follow politics at all.
In any case, the point is that with the proper education of the American people, we can probably push the Pirate Party and get it actually to become a major challenger to the current system. Because the Democrats are...
Yeah, therein lies your problem. Education of the American people.
Yeah, that's true. The Republicans are losing people left, right, and center. Both parties have incumbents that everybody is saying, okay, get the fuck out of my government. And so I think this is a great time to introduce an alternate party, and I think the Pirate Party, an already established, provably workable party that does nothing but promote freedom of speech and promoting the tools to get that freedom of speech in the public sector, in the public's hands. I think that's a perfect party to introduce back into the American political system. Because right now, the idea of freedom of speech and the tools to support and provide for freedom of speech, that's being eaten away within our political system. It started with the DMCA, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse since then.
Yeah.
I'm having to educate, aren't I? It's okay. DMCA.
I'm not on it just because I'm not into American politics at all. Sorry.
No, I'm just thinking back to what was I believe it was the part 2 of last podcast of I believe it was ChroniclerC that said it. Again, you sound like all of the internet at once.
Now, I've been just trying to formulate something in my head. Speaking as a, semi-former professional photographer, including in weddings and such, there actually is a benefit behind the copyright there, because without actual copyright on our images, that studio never would have been able to support itself.
Oh, I'm not saying that copyright should be abolished entirely. In fact, that's not the Pirate Party's stance at all. There's a lot of things like, for instance, open source software. Open source software would never succeed without the benefits of copyright. And
yeah, I know that.
So the idea behind the Pirate Party and the basic philosophies of restricting copyright is you do work, you should be able to own the work. But you should not be able to own the idea of the work. It's like the Obama poster, the one with the nice faded, I don't like Obama, but this was a fantastic poster that was made by just some artist who grabbed a picture off the internet, and he did that wonderfully faded red, white, and blue. It's been parodied and
memed to death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You all know the one I'm talking about. Well, the original photo came from the Associated Press, but they took it from another photographer who was not affiliated with the Associated Press.
Actually, I'm thinking that I have not seen this. Now my phone's ringing. I'll be right back.
Oh, great.
Well, even if you've not seen the original rendition, the idea of it is out there now.
Absolutely. And the thing is, there's, as far as I know, there's still an ongoing lawsuit. It's like a 3-way lawsuit between the person who did the faded color art poster, the Associated Press, and the original photographer. Basically, everybody's suing each other because everybody is saying we own the idea of this work. And it's like, okay, the Associated Press, they're full of shit. They don't own anything in this. They took the picture from the original photographer. The photographer owns the original picture in that he took the picture. The artist owns the artwork that he did because he modified the original work enough so that
it's something new.
It's brand new. So they deserve the copyright for those for a certain period of time. And I'm sorry, but their children do not deserve the copyright. Neither does a corporation that may buy the rights, or any of these morons that come along and say, we own this. No, you don't.
Yeah, it's somewhat moronic.
Oh, absolutely. The original copyright law that was put in place at the foundation of the American country, the United States of America, it was fantastic in that it was a perfect balance between the person who created the work owning the work and the fact that at some point it goes into public domain and the public gets to use it however they want, because you don't get to own an idea, you get to own the work. But that has been so royally twisted, exactly, to the point where now people get to think that they get to own ideas. You don't get to own ideas. Ideas are ephemeral. Ideas are easily copied because there's nothing tangible about the idea. There's no reason for you to say, I own this idea because I put the work into it. An idea is just an idea. It takes a second, less than a second, to come up with an idea.
Well, you should be able to claim some form of ownership on the idea, but as long as you're being very specific about what that idea is. Like a patent is just an idea.
Well, yeah, and I've got something to say about patents as well. But let's
even though it's still just an idea, you should be able to say, this idea is mine, you can't go out and claim to have the same idea after I've shown you my idea.
Well, see, that goes back to the idea of the difference between the ownership of the work and the ownership of the idea. If you just say, oh, I have an idea, you haven't done anything to make that idea yours. You have not done anything to make that idea tangible. If you say to somebody, hey, you know what? This sunset would make a fantastic picture, but you don't actually take the picture, you don't own that picture. The person who actually pulls out their camera and says, you're right, it would make a fantastic picture, and takes the picture, they own the picture because they did the work to make that idea into a reality.
There's also the theory of quantum mechanics, where if you think of an idea, other people will probably thought about it too.
Well, that's a general statement.
That's just a general probability statement.
Well, but so it's less a matter of an idea and more of how much thought and effort went into the idea.
The other thing is even if that was the case, even if you did genuinely, you honest to God, really seriously, in all reality, had the idea first, can you prove it? Can you prove that your mind conceived it before anyone else's?
No,
I mean, good luck.
Can I say something?
Go for it.
Hello? Well, just basically, it was the whole thing about the ideas. Like, I've been taught, like, from where I've been scriptwriting and things, that there is no original idea. Like, every film you've ever had, there are only 7 stories in total.
There's so many plots in the world.
No, there's...
Well...
Basically, there's only 7 that everyone has their own spin on it. That's the basic gist of it.
I would agree.
I can agree with this.
Yeah, because, I mean, even if you take a look at the basic idea of the hero, there's only 4 ways that the hero journey can go and still have a viable story. And those 4 different ways that it can go are all about the climax of the story. And the climax of the story can only go 4 different ways and have it be a successfully told hero story. So yes, I totally agree with you.
That is generally what film theorists say all the time. There are only 7 stories, but... So, you know, that does kind of link to the whole thing with the copyright, you know. How can you say that this idea is original when really you're just rehashing something that's so basic?
And in general, original idea of copyright was the copy on an entire work, not just an idea, the right to be able to make copies of a finished work, like an entire book, or like, you know, significant passages out of a book, or in the case of my former work, the actual end photo that was taken by our photo studio. You know, we take photos, and we would be the one that had the right to make copies of that original work.
Oh, yes.
So
actually,
yeah, exactly.
Just to give a great idea here about the whole idea thing. Songs, movies, songs, everything goes on things that have already been conceived before. For example, go to youtube.com and in the search box type in the axis of awesome. Axis is being spelled A-X-I-S. The axis of awesome, 4 chords.
Oh, yes.
Click on the first video that pops up, and you have about these billions of different songs that have they're pretty much the same. Yeah, the exact same opening or the exact same tune of that. It also happens to be in Journey's song. You know the one.
Oh, there's another one that's perfect by way of demonstrating this. The
Pachelbel rant.
Yes. She was a boy. He was a boy. She was a girl.
Could be any more
obvious. We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. On your market, set and go now.
And all of them can go to the tune of.
Also, another example, Bunnycast Funky Town and cocaine. Da 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 da. Or da 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 da.
I mean, technically, technically speaking, the number of notes that patterns of the I can't create a thought.
So really, if we're going to,
there's an infinite combination of
if we're
real
going to
patterns, but there are only so many that are viable musically. Is what I'm trying to get
if you want to go with copyright laws as stringent as people are going, then we need to ban music outright and credit it to the person that first started beating two rocks together in a rhythm. And that person is the only person that could ever make music. Well, they're dead, so we're all screwed.
The trouble in copyright laws and intellectual property laws is where you draw the line.
Well, see, the thing is,
where does it stop? Where does it stop being? Where does the line between copy and inspiration come from?
The thing is, this debate has all taken place about 200 plus years ago.
Not to mention, as well, the copyright ends not when the person dies, but
75 years later.
Exactly. 75 years later.
75 years later, when we can make a greatest hit out of it.
Soon to be increased, because isn't the copyright for doesn't Disney have a lot to do with that? That's one thing I've heard about them. To keep Mickey Mouse under their control, and it's about to run up again, so I bet you they're going to lobby pretty hard to get it increased.
Every time Mickey Mouse threatens to go into public domain, guess what? And that pisses me off. It really does piss me off, because some of the best work I've ever seen for Disney characters and DC characters and Marvel characters, etc., it's all fan art or art done by professionals for sale, one-off sale at like conventions. There was a fantastic Batman versus Predator unauthorized piece of artwork that sold at Comic-Con that somebody just did in their spare time while they were sitting on the floor waiting for commissions to come in at Comic-Con, and they said, "Hey, you know what? This is auctionable. Let's auction it." And it sold for like $100 and some odd because they just had some time to kill, and it turned out to be a fantastic piece of art.
Yeah. I wonder if anyone actually jumped in and said, "You stole us an idea that's not yours."
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh my God, you're terrible.
No one is at Comic-Con, no.
Yeah, not at Comic-Con.
So, in any case, so bringing this back to topic.
Back on tangent.
There's a growing public awareness thanks to digital music. We get people that come into the Apple Store that have devices. I just had one, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, come in with an iPad. And we did everything we could to transfer the music from the iPad to his computer. And because we had to swap his iPad, because there was a problem with one of the volume buttons. And we can't just fix the volume button, we have to replace the whole thing. And in spite of everything we did to transfer his personal property that he bought from the device to the computer, some of the stuff didn't transfer.
Because it was copyright protected.
Not necessarily that, because there's a facility within iTunes to copy stuff from a device that is copy protected over to the computer via iTunes.
Yeah.
So that's all perfectly fine and dandy, but because of the contracts that Apple has had to make with the recording industries, with the labels, there's no way for the person to just simply say, "Okay, you know what? I've lost this music. Just re-download it." And it's perfectly technically doable because, hey, you have an application that you've purchased and downloaded, but you don't have it anymore. Hey, that's fine. Just make sure you put in your correct credentials into your iPad, your iPod, your iTunes library. Go and quote purchase the application again, and it says, "Oh, you've already purchased this application. We're going to download it for you for free because you already bought it and paid for it." So it's technically possible to make it so that people can re-download whatever it is, and it's these applications can only be downloaded.
Somebody, is it me or is
I think it's you.
Okay.
I was hearing it too. Homer was getting more and more excited the more I kept hearing.
And then he just went completely, like, cut out.
Stopped.
Yeah, then he just stopped.
Anyway.
Yeah. But what I have to say is that seems to be a bigger argument. Sorry, the whole fading out thing was hilarious to me. But that seems to be a big argument against the kind of duality that they have going on with the with a lot of the music and movies and stuff. Is that they're saying on the one side you're buying the physical product, but you're licensing the music. So they're treating the digital.
They keep trying to find the perfect legal terms for not letting you actually own what you're buying.
They're treating the digital download. Software has always been treated as a license to work, pretty much. I mean, it wasn't always, but I mean, pretty much for a very long time. But they're treating the digital download like they would like a CD or a record, and that, you know, if your CD gets destroyed in a fire, you don't get a new one for free. But they're, on the other hand, they're treating it as though it's a licensed product, which in the case of software, you have a license for it. You can pretty much always get another second copy because the physical medium wasn't what you purchased. It was you purchased the license to have access to it.
The idea of being able to use this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You purchased a pretty much just a statement saying you're authorized to use this. So that's why software is they give you like free re-downloads and stuff, because you didn't actually purchase the digital download. You purchased something saying you're allowed to download this application and use it.
Yeah, which just that idea alone is
Yeah, but like
the music industry is like the big news in IP because they're trying to find the perfect technical term to screw consumers out of their right to re-download.
Yeah.
They're trying to treat it as both, oh, you just purchased the download, but also treating it as, well, you just purchased a license for the song. They're saying you don't actually own that medium, you just purchased the license to it. But then they're also saying that, well, that license doesn't mean you can do the other stuff that a license normally means. So, trying to treat it as
which is why once I create a library for my iPod, I don't connect the iPod to iTunes again.
You don't even ever really need to use iTunes with an iPod. You can use like Winamp or Amarok or something like that.
Oh, I know. But I mean, like, seriously, with the download stuff that I did download through iTunes, I downloaded it, it's on my iPod, and I've lost some stuff over time. My iPod still has it, though.
Yep. I've completely, well, you know you can retrieve that stuff off your iPod using Winamp, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, be careful not to load up iTunes, though, because if it's not in your iTunes library, iTunes will try to sync it.
In order to protect Dame Helen's job, Dame Helen is not going to comment on the topic at hand.
Smart laugh.
Anyway.
But I don't use iTunes at all. I've never used iTunes. So.
I tried it, didn't like it.
I love iTunes.
I don't have an iPod or anything.
iTunes has probably one of the coolest graphic visualizers I have ever seen.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of visualizers, but we seem to be off topic again.
Yeah. Pull up. No, seriously, if you have a chance to, look at the iTunes graphic visualizer. It is cool.
Well, okay, we have extended this topic out quite a bit, and there's a lot to discuss. So unfortunately, we can't get to all of it today. I don't think we could get to all of it in 40 more podcasts. But again, for those who are interested in intellectual property and the serious discussions therein, go to the Tech Dirt blog. I believe it's just techdirt.com. You can do a Google search for it if you're really interested and can't find it at techdirt.com. So let's move on to webcomic reviews.
It is techdirt.com.
Our guest hosts, yes, thank you. Our guest hosts are not necessarily required to have a webcomic review, but if you have one, that's ideal. Fantastic. We're also, as was mentioned in a previous podcast, experimenting with video game reviews. So if you don't have a webcomic to review, but happen to have a video game you want to review, by all means, let's go with that. I'm going to open it up by doing a comic that none of us can remember if it was done before, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Sparkling Generation Valkyrie Yuki.
Oh, great.
This is one of those comics that updates very sporadically, but it is still presently updating. In fact, it updated fairly recently. Let me see if I can get a date on that. 9/13/2010. One of the nice things about the sporadic updates for this particular comic is that the artist author, going by the online name Kitty Hawk, actually releases batches in the updates. So it updates once every 3, 5, 6, 9 months, whatever it is, but you'll get like 5 to 10 pages in the one update. End result being that in, for instance, the most recent update, you get a good 5 pages of story, which is good because SGVY tends to have nice, huge panels where they review several things all at once. So, just to give you an idea what the story is about, imagine you're a fanboy of Magical Girl anime and video games and comics and whatnot, and you see a brand new, never before mentioned or heard of on the internet, Magical Girl DVD on the store shelves entitled Sparkling Generation Valkyrie. It looks like the archetypal Magical Girl comic with the Magical Girl on the front in full costume, many possible panty shots included, and so you buy it, you take it home, and you put it in, and the magical animal comes up, giving you some introduction, and then all of a sudden the magical animal pops out of the TV screen and turns you into the Magical Girl. Needless to say, I want that to happen.
Sounds a bit awesome indeed.
Yeah, I've heard of this one.
The artwork...
Problem, quote-unquote, with this particular setup being that the magical girl in question is actually a guy.
Well, yes, I did preface this by saying a fanboy. And unlike other comics of the trope, removal of the Magical Girl outfit does not transform Yuki, the main character, back into a guy. Yuki remains a girl with fairly large breasts. And there's actually quite a bit of humor early on in the comic about the fact that this is a boy with breasts.
Whee!
Fun times.
So, there's a lot about how the main character is trying to turn back into a guy, doesn't want to be a Valkyrie, didn't want to be a Valkyrie in the first place, but is learning the ropes quite well. And personally, I think Yuki's going to be the greatest Valkyrie in existence by the time the training is all done. Introduction of certain good guys, certain bad guys you think are bad guys you think are good guys, etc. It's fairly complex, very detailed, and you can tell there's going to be a lot more to the story, which makes the delays between updates all the more maddening, especially when you say, I need my fix, and you go back and read through the archives and you get to right where you were when you needed your fix in the first place. I need more!
I know how that goes, reading through the archives of Peter is the Wolf.
And it should be noted that there is some NSFW content. The artist-author does a fantastic job of making it so that the NSFW content is properly obscured to an extent. Let's put it this way: you're not fooling anyone if you read the comic with the NSFW filter turned on. But the story, art, everything except the update frequency is a highly recommended on this. And even though the update frequency is low, I still say go read it. Website is sgvy.com. And the artist also has other works which maybe you want to see, maybe you don't, depending on your level of tolerance for adult stuff. So that's my review, SGVY.
Sounds interesting. Kind of like a comic I found earlier today that I kind of told you a little about, but I haven't actually read yet.
Yes. Xepharon, you were going to review a video game.
Yeah, I recently had the pleasure of enjoying Halo Reach. What?
No,
Insert
that's
sound of gagging here.
Okay. I was expressing the sound of, God, I want to play this! Because remember, I had the beta. I was in the beta. I have the
I'll be sure to attempt to not let out any spoilers that I'm sure about 3/4 of the nation have already know because they've probably already played through the whole thing. But my view, so freaking cool. You play as a member of a Spartan team. Yes, multiple Spartans, plural, more than one, of Noble Team. Basically investigating originally some incidents that are strange occurrences, which ultimately leads to this giant. Well, you know most of the story, so it's not really spoiling anything, but it leads to this fact that, oh my God, the Covenant are invading Reach, and the ultimate delivery and climax towards the end game, which I'm not going to spoil for anyone who has not played. The game is absolutely freaking awesome. These Marines are absolutely badass. They make Master Chief look like UNSC Special Spartan. He's really not as cool as he had been portrayed to be at first. These Marines, I mean, these Spartans are even cooler and more badass than the ODST Marines. Just wow. The graphics are definitely an improved. New weapons, new enemies, new vehicles. That's the other fun thing. If it's a vehicle, you can drive it. I was going through a warehouse at one point and found out you can even drive the forklifts.
Oh yeah.
Why? I don't know, but why not?
That was actually announced at Comic-Con.
Why not, right? But it's absolutely epic from being from any of the ground warfare to the aerial warfare, even in this might be a minor spoiler to you, Helen. I do apologize, but even to the combat and piloting of ships in space combat.
Oh no, I saw that. I saw that again at Comic-Con. Oh my God! I was like, oh!
Let's just say I needed a towel.
My personal opinion of Halo Reach is they finally put fun back in first-person shooting.
Oh my God! And it really was just that thing where, I know I'd had the viewpoint that I'd had. I'll be right back.
Okay, well, while he's away, I don't know. I haven't played that.
Okay, I'm back.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Where did I leave off?
We were talking about the ability
yeah.
to vehicle to drive it. And JStone has the question that he typed in. Is it realistic space physics, or do they act like a plane in atmosphere?
It's actually, I would say it probably is realistic space physics, because even when you're not on the thrusters and whatnot, your vehicle still keeps going. It's more, although it does have the whole plane in the atmosphere thing, but you have thrusters on the various sides to actually affect which direction your craft is facing. It will make it so that you're going this direction. It'll have the thrusters on the sides to change your direction so that you're not spinning out of control. It more or less reminded me of,
Do you bank into turns and stuff, or do you have to fire the forward thrusters and then brake and the side thrusters to get it to change direction? Or that would probably be too complicated to try to put
let's you can turn like you normally would. It does kind of bank, but you can also do the whole upside down, left and right. But there's also, they have things in there that reminded me of Star Fox, doing these quick evasive barrel rolls, the flip maneuvers, and the horseshoe turn around thing. Which doesn't
work.
It's a video game. Shut up. It's awesome.
Oh, come on. Babylon 5 did it right. A video game can do it right.
Not necessarily, because okay, you got a controller with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 buttons, 2 sticks, and a directional pad. This does not make it easy.
I know. I'm just poking fun.
Okay.
Steel Battalion.
Steel Battalion was awesome. I have the controller.
If you want to talk about realistic spaceflight physics, X-wing versus TIE fighter.
Or a game called Orbiter that's all about space simulation, but never mind.
I got a special.
I'll take fun over realism any day.
Exactly. I got a special 106 function joystick just so that I could play TIE Fighter when it first came out.
I had this one. It was. I think it has like 50 or 60 buttons on it. Like it was just mentioned a minute ago, Steel Battalion. It is a controller that is in 3 parts. Also has foot pedals, gear shift, radio knob. This thing is awesome.
Isn't that crazy expensive thing though?
Yeah, it's about $200 for the controller and game itself.
Yep.
It does go on Xbox Live. You pilot. It's not so much where you like what was it, Mech Assault, where you have the controller, you pilot the mech. No, you are in the cockpit of the mech. You push the buttons to make everything function with the targeting reticles. The 2 joysticks, one is actually for like the upper body turning, the other one is for the actual aiming and whatnot. You even have a thumbstick, the thumb hat, which actually moves the targeting reticle on the screen with the trigger to fire, with the other trigger to fire the alternate weapon. Oh my god. The game is insane. It is so freaking hard, but it is so cool.
I
push
the original that makes the man fall down.
It's for the original Xbox too. But Halo Reach.
Back on topic.
I don't know if I really can say anything that would do this game justice about just how freaking cool it is. God, I wish I could swear. Being in my store. Oh, I wish I could swear. But the game, oh my god. The graphics, absolutely incredible. The game itself, the mechanics of the weaponry, phenomenal. Different additions to the Spartan armor lockup, sprinting, the jetpacks, active camouflage, holograms, drop shield. Just wow. And like I said, I knew the storyline. I know the storyline. I know what's going to happen. I know that even if you beat the game, you still lose Reach, but oh my god, is it so worth playing?
Well, yeah, it's like watching Pearl Harbor. Well, you know how it ends. But again, it's the idea of what's the story? How do you get to that point how it ends?
Oh my god. Play the game. The wolf commands it. That'd be me.
Okay, ITL.
Still no.
No, I'm here now.
There we go. Okay. You were going to review a video game as well.
Yes, I was. If I can get my info back up. So yeah, Resetia. It's a cool game. It's essentially you have you know how in like Japanese role-playing games you have all your different item shops and things like that?
Uh-huh.
Have you ever wondered what it's like behind the counter? Ooh. That's what this game does.
Really?
That's what this game does, but actually you might think, well, actually that sounds a bit boring, but they managed to make it interesting. So half of it is your tycoon thing that you generally buy low, sell high, things like that. Yeah. But the other half of it is that you can't just keep buying stuff all the time because you do have some high debts to pay back. So what you end up doing half the time is you actually go off into dungeons and you collect your adventurous loot.
From their dead bodies. The Bahamut was too powerful this time. I feel bad for these guys.
Echo.
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 Echo. But
actually, I think the Skype test call service is called the Echo Skype test call service.
ChroniclerC linked us to the game, and it's store.steampowered.com/app/70400.
Mm-hmm.
So intuitive.
So that's a really easy one to remember there.
I was just about to say, that's probably one of the more simple links I've seen.
I like it. I like it. There's one of the still frames is a guy talking to what is obviously the character. It says, "Capitalism, ho!"
That is the catchphrase of this game. If anybody knows this game, it is probably one of the first things that they'll say. Capitalism, ho!
I like it. Too bad it's for Windows only.
Just get like
You
crossover
silly
on
Mac
something.
people.
Come on. You can use like the dual boot. You could like virtualize Windows. You can get crossover Office, so you don't even have to have Windows on it.
Yeah, but that slows things down.
But yeah, this game you can get on Steam for you guys $20. I don't know what exactly that equates to, like how good or bad that is. But for England here, I got it for £14, so it's pretty good.
$20 ain't bad
as
for
one
a
of my
game.
friends, one of my friends has apparently played this for over 40 hours, so there's definite like long gameplay involved. It's not like something you pick up for 2 hours.
So you get your money's worth, basically.
Yeah.
$19.99 in U.S. dollars for those who are interested. I'm gonna go ahead and call this right now. I think our video game reviews is an unqualified success. So let's go ahead and do that continuously going forward.
Yay! I'll be a Steam whore then.
Now, ChroniclerC, no, not ChroniclerC, JStone, sorry, linked to an archive for the SGVY news items back in 2007. That actually ties into our earlier comments about intellectual property, where back in the day, a Japanese live-action TV company basically stole, if you want to use the term, the SGVY plot, characters, storyline, pretty much almost everything. The thing is here that Kitty Hawk, jeez, I almost forget, says in nice big bold type here. Well, first, let me read the intro to this statement. That's not a coincidence. That's my freaking comic. Am I freaking out? Hell no. I expected this to happen eventually. Even as my friends and husband are freaking themselves after watching this copycat DVD and asking me if I am freaked out as well, I am not. I have a saying for this situation. Eventually, your shit will be in someone else's shit, and you'll have to say, "Holy shit! There's my shit in someone else's shit." And there's a link to a video that's been removed from the hosting site. However, the static image that's there as an anchor before you click on the play button is there, and by howdy if that's not a brunette SGVY. Seriously, it's Yuki, the same outfit, same headpiece, of course made up tackily in a very unimpressive TV version, but it's SGVY right there on the screen. You can't deny it. It's like this is a good example of a content creator saying, "Yeah, they took my stuff."
Intellectual property laws.
It's like, nothing I can really do about it other than just keep doing what I'm doing. I've got prior art if they decide to pull out you produced this and we've got the intellectual property, and it's like, yeah, okay, here's my stuff from before you made your stuff. What are you going to do about it? Sue me? I don't think so. I will win.
With a lot of them, if you speak along the same lines of saying, "Oh yeah, I know people are going to copy my stuff," of a lot of my new photography stuff that I do a lot of digital work now. The old stuff was all film, like big old like medium format film cameras and stuff. But I license everything Creative Commons non-commercial attribution, because I know people are gonna like want to make copies of it for like their in-home use, and that they're going to want to like put it on cards and stuff like that. So I license it that way. Give them a DVD with all the pictures on it, and say, well, if you want professional prints, we've got an account with Burrell that'll make really good photos. So I do the same kind of stuff essentially. No people are going to copy it and plan for it. Huh? What was that?
My phone.
That was the emphasis-o-matic, that at random times it will emphasize whatever's being said.
My phone does that.
Like the dramatic, what was it?
Dramatic gopher?
Dramatic gopher, yeah.
Okay, so that's our reviews. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Remember, we'd like to thank Shastrix.com for hosting our podcast and the mini Shastrix.
Yay!
Also, just to recap some projects, I am still transitioning. That's pretty much my project right now. Really hoping to kick things into high gear here soon for the 2012 deadline for the Comic-Con 2012 BunnyCon transition year. So,
insert dramatic, awesome music here. No, there.
Zeph, which project?
Healing from my... I'm not going to call it a dental work. I'm going to call it a freaking jaw injury. Healing from my pulled teeth, and by the time that people hear this, I will hopefully be in Texas, but for right now, as of this recording date, is finalizing and getting everything done before my move to Texas, and hoping that the military will cooperate.
Ooh, Texas.
Also, playing more Halo Reach.
IceTigerLily.
For me, I'm going to try and design my own tarot deck. Woo, wish me luck. 78 cards. Eek.
Big project.
Yay! Yeah.
JStone. Projects?
Well, the big one is I'm still working on it. I do a anime convention in my hometown, and it's kind of a year-round affair, just getting everything working, and I'm on that committee, so that's the project.
I know the
Up there in Traverse City, isn't it?
Yes.
Not to be confused with Kingdom Hearts Traverse Town.
No, definitely not. Nothing like it.
I'm still trying to make it up for one of these conventions of yours.
Yeah, it's they're kind of fun. I'm on the completely other end of the thing, so...
Well, to my understanding, next year's is going to be number 3 of the AnimeCon, Northern Michigan Anime Convention.
Okay, thanks for the plug, I guess.
ChroniclerC.
Hey, no problem.
Nothing particularly interesting over. Yeah, that.
Brains.
Right.
Okay, just as a reminder, go to read Elgunish Shive. EGScomics.com.
A great squirrel be praised.
I've been watching Doctor Who, and the Daleks meet the Cybermen on one of the most recent episodes that I saw, and I tell you, nothing is funnier than listening to two cybernetic races trash talk each other.
Yeah, I remember that episode. It's hilarious.
Pest control.
Homer, I have a project for you.
What's the project?
Find for me the link to someplace where I can buy the Doctor Who Wiimote for my girlfriend. She is a Doctor Who fan.
Okay.
And she has a Wii.
Would defeat 500 Cybermen with 3 Daleks.
We would defeat 500 Cybermen with 1 Dalek.
The best line, though, is Daleks have no concept of elegance, and the Cybermen just replied, "This is obvious."
my favorite was the Daleks talking. There is one way in which you are superior to the Daleks. What's that? You are superior at dying.
No, you are superior in only one aspect. And what is that? You are better at dying.
Okay, let's close this out. Say goodbye, guys.
All over my head.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
In a twisted
Goodbye,
turn
guys.
of reality, it's you and me. And I need you here to keep some sanity. We are but pawns in a faded game of cat and mouse. Maybe a couple of head traps thrown out here and there. This crazy world is so messed up, all in my hair. I got you, I don't care. Power in my hand, the world at my command. But now all that I want is just to be your man. It's a crazy world, in a twisted turn of reality. It's you and me, and I need you here to keep some sanity. We are but pawns in a faded game of cat and mouse. Maybe a couple of guinea pigs thrown out here and there. This crazy world is all messed up in my head. I got you, I don't care.